Chapter 11 to 12. General POV. A few days later, Amon was preparing to leave his hut for the newly appointed 40 kilometers run. Before going out of the hut, he used observation hockey to sense if there were any kind of deadly trap placed outside the door. Confirming the safety, he slowly walked out of the hut. He looked very weird with his 1.4 meters tall body carrying the big bag beside him. He was currently walking towards the exit of the village, to the upper yard. That's why the bag was important. It's filled with all kinds of life-saving dials, after all. There were exactly 26 dials in there, only to save his life in critical situations. Like if he unexpectedly confronted God's army, a strong pirate ship, or a strong white sea creature. This will help him get out of any critical situation. Walking through the road, a few kids around his age caught his sight. One was running with another one chasing after him. The one ahead had a boiled fish in his hand, while having an anxious face as he was being chased by another kid. "Hey, give me back the food." "Huff, no. You ate yesterday anyway. This white sea carp is mine." "Bastard. Mom said to share it with me." It's a strange sight. Kids were fighting each other for food. Amon kept walking without paying any attention to them. This was a normal sight to him. While walking, many useless thoughts were wandering inside his mind. I know these two who are running. They are brothers with 1 year of age difference. The older one is called Roy and the younger one is called Ray. And like most kids in the tribe, they sometimes have to starve for a day or two. Not me though. Being a Calgara descendant has its own perks, as I get 5x more rations than normal. The others can starve to death for all I care. Ignoring them, he continued walking towards the exit, while keeping an eye out. Like said previously, the village is inside a dome-like structure, with the ceiling made of solid island cloud. The exit of this dome is in the opposite direction of the giant beanstalk. Amon had his observation hockey at full capacity so that he could avoid any adults. Since children under the age of 8 aren't supposed to leave the village, it was better to not catch any adult's eye. After a few minutes, Amon was spotted near the upper yard side area. He was skating towards the territory with the shooters in his feet. After a few moments, he reached the land. He then jumped to the ground from the sea surface. It was flawlessly executed with the special custom shooter of Bob that Amon reaped last time. After landing, he took off his shooters. He liked to feel the touch of soil in his feet. Placing the shooters in his bag, Amon stretched for a while. As he said, "Well, it will take less than a half an hour for the running to finish, but I am about to perfect, Soru, shave. So I will have to train for a few more hours." Among the Rokushiki, 6 powers, Amon can only perform a weaker version of Soru, also rip-off version of Jeppo, that only lets him double jump a few times. Finally, an ultra rip-off, Tekai, Iron Body, which lets him harden his outer skin for 3 seconds. Amon learned Soru and Jeppo naturally because of his daily habit of sprint. He was able to perform Soru from a year ago, and Jeppo from only a few days ago. The late is mostly because of his small legs. However, he learned Tekai by accident, or more specifically, from the constant attempt to perform Saimai Kikken. Because since he didn't know how to perform it, he kept doing what he thought was right, like tightening all his body muscles and pushing the strength towards his wings, or the part of body he wants to move. Doing that for countless times, though he wasn't able to perform the technique he was aiming for, he at least gained something else. One of the Rokushiki, Tekai, Amon cleared all his thoughts and prepared to start running. Hoo! Releasing a heavy breath, Amon dashed ahead, still with the bag beside him. Today wasn't the first day Amon came to the upper yard. In fact, he has already come here countless times before. However, he still wasn't completely used to the terrain of this land. As he thinks while running, from my estimation, the upper yard's area in a whole should be around 4,000 km superscript 2, as expected from something called City of Gold. Just according to Amon's estimation, the size of the upper yard should be just around Dubai cities. Ignoring his wandering thoughts, Amon kept up running on the messed up terrain of upper yard, while sometimes jumping from one tree to another. Amon was running without any problem while parkouring through the rigid places, jumping above trees and even avoiding any kind of living being, may it be God's militia or any other creature. He was trying not to pick any unnecessary fights. While running, he was sometimes kicking the ground at a very fast pace, vanishing from the spot for a second, only to appear a few meters away. He was trying to perform Jeppo. However, since he didn't have much experience in using it, all of his efforts were turning into Soru, yet he didn't give up and kept kicking the ground. Puff, puff. A few minutes passed, and Amon can be seen jumping in thin air. It was very unstable, and it looked as if a baby was learning how to walk for the first time. Also in this state, only by looking closely would a person be able to tell that he wasn't doing that using his shooters. Instead, he was doing this with his own legs' power. Ha, ha ha. This is more fun than I expected. Amon had a happy smile on his face, however, unlike his smiles in the tribe which are fake most of the time. The current smile he was redirecting wasn't fake. He was truly feeling happiness from the bottom of his heart. The feeling of freedom was sweeping inside his whole existing. I feel like a free bird. How nice it would have been if this never stopped. He wasn't able to complete his sentence as he started to fall down. However, luckily he still had his shooters on, so he was able to replicate the same action using them. Puff, puff, damn. That was close. Ha ha ha. But that was fun, Amon said with a hearty laugh. He was experiencing the feeling of conquest. This new feeling wasn't that bad after all. However, I can't slack off. The small achievement wasn't enough to get over his mind, as he said this with a serious grin. After that, he started to try his best at learning Jeppo, kicking the ground as fast and hard as he could. At that pace, it wasn't supposed to take that long for him to learn Jeppo and Master Soru. 1 year later, MC's age 8. General POV. What? You haven't seen him too? In the Shandia village, ISA was looking for Amon all around, but it seems he has seemingly vanished without leaving any trace. SA's been searching for Amon all day long. However, nobody has seen him at all. Hopeless, ISA fell on her, but as she wiped her sweaty forehead. This kid. He's been running out of the village every chance he gets ever since he got his hands on dials. I'll wait until he comes back. This time I will have to be more strict. But she remembered how Bob gave him his custom dials. Or from where would a kid get enough courage to go out alone? Bob, just you wait, Essa said and punched the ground lightly. Asterisk. On Amon's side, he was out hunting giant lobsters. Because as surprising as it might sound, even in this white sea of cloud, many different kinds of sea creatures lived without any difficulty. The area Amon was currently in is the territory of giant lobsters. He was wearing a tribal mask which covered his whole face. Using the shooter dial, he was skating on the sea surface. He was also armed with a burn bazooka in his back while carrying many other types of dials in his trusted bag. Usually, the raiders would only come to this area with their teams. However, even they mostly avoid this area because when they confront one lobster here, it is most likely that its group will also come out. Even if the raiders survive that, there would most likely be casualties. So, Amon coming here would be seen as a dumb move by the other tribesmen. Obviously, Amon knew all this, yet he came here. Also, unlike his laid-back personality most of the time, currently under his mask, laid a sharp, serious look. A few minutes passed by as he continued skating. He hasn't discovered any lobsters yet. Still, he wasn't worried about that. Instead, he was playing with dials in his hands. The dials are more useful than I initially thought. Theoretically, if I have a strong shell and enough dial-making skill, then I can create a reject dial strong enough to blow a hole in monsters like Kaido's chest. Theoretically. After that, Amon wasn't able to think of anything else. As suddenly, he sensed something big right under him. Before he could be sure of what it was. Right at that moment, a giant lobster's claw came out of the white water trying to catch him off guard. Sensing the danger, Amon abruptly stopped on his tracks, just narrowly evading the attack. Splash! The hit was so strong that the sea seemingly got cut in half. Just as he saw that, he created great distance between themselves. Skating a few hundred meters away, Amon released a breath. Phew! That was close. Fortunately, Amon's observation haki was fast enough to sense the path of the attack. Or Amon might have been shredded into half instead. Yet, even though he just evaded a seemingly fatal attack, he didn't seem worried at all. Instead, he had a small smile on his face while looking at the giant claw in front of him. It seems I have got a big feast tonight. Amon was confident that he could easily beat this lobster without any casualties, and just as his composure depicted, he moved without any hesitation, rushing towards the lobster who was still trying to attack him from underwater. Amon was moving very fast, however, the lobster was still able to target him, as one of its claws attacked towards him from the left, while the other came from the right. Amon was about to get caught, however. Right then his speed got a massive boost.
Asterisk boom. Boom, asterisk.
Like nitro, strong air pressure exploded out of his shooter, as he evaded the attacks without any difficulty. These were Bob's custom dials that he negotiated last time, invading its attack swiftly, and this time he decided to attack it himself. As he grabbed one of the lobster's claws, white it struggled. Then Amon was about to get flunked by its strength, mostly because he didn't have a strong ground hold. However, before the lobster was able to do that, he yanked its claws very hard, so hard that it created a crack sound and got ripped out of its body. In the process, the lobster's fluid got sprayed all over Amon's body, which Amon just ignored. The lobster struggled while making weird noises, but even though it lost one of its arms, it didn't seem to have given up yet. Seeing this, Amon used a milky dial to create a big boat made of clouds. Then he placed the ripped-off arm in it. He was being frugal. That claw is full of nutrition, so is the lobster. I don't want to lose a single bite of my food, Amon thought while targeting the other claw. Amon took off his bazooka and placed it on the cloud boat while keeping a look at the struggling lobster. Nonetheless, he still had his bag beside him. He can never overestimate himself. Amon looked down at the lobster underwater. He smiled cheerfully as his eyes formed a crescent moon. Then, Mr. Crab, will you help me test my strength? The lobster danced in pain, still most of its body underwater. Oh, thank you very much. As if triggered by his word, the lobster then jumped up, starting to float in the white water. Amon smirked and started to inspect it. The bug is bigger than I thought. It's as large as a small pirate ship. But, oh well, it's still nothing but a bug in the end. The lobster rushed towards him with full force, while Amon also prepared himself. It used its only clawing to try again and grab a hold of him. But with Amon's swift movement, he evaded all of them. But the lobster's claw was still a pain in the ass to Amon. That other claw of yours was quite annoying. But now that it's gone, this one seems to be exhilarated to join. Another attack was evaded by him while saying this, as another fresh attack was coming towards him at full speed. Since I'm feeling nice today, I'll help you take that one off too. Saying this, he caught its incoming attack with both his hands. Bam! It created a sound akin to a rock hitting an iron. Then, just like before, he yanked the claw strongly. With another crack sound, the claw got ripped out of its body. The lobster without its claws could do nothing but make strangely awful sounds. The fight was close to ending, but Amon was a bit disappointed. He sighed and shook his head. Though he did get enough food that can feed around 200 people for a few weeks, meaning the whole tribe, he didn't feel any thrill from this fight. He lightly shook his head in disappointment. I'm not a battle maniac, but there is nothing I can do other than hope for a good fight. Since I have no teachers, the only way to unlock my armament hockey is constant training and to fight strong opponents. Ignoring the strange behavior of the lobster, he prepared for a finishing move. Swinging one of his arms backward, Amon prepared a punch. While dashing towards the clawless lobster, he started to think, without any care for the enemy. My observation has already obtained a pretty great level, yet I haven't even unlocked the armament. This is simply disappointing. Before he could attack the lobster, Amon again felt a sense of danger under him. Without thinking about any other thing, he quickly invaded its attack.
Soru.
Whoosh! With the help of the shooter dial in his feet, along with Soru, there aren't many creatures faster than him in the sky. But, as he ran backward, the claw that he ripped off just now fell into the deep water. Fuck, that's my food! Amon yelled. Though he was agitated, he still first increased the distance between him and the clawless lobster by a few hundred meters. The attack just now obviously wasn't from the clawless one. There is another one underwater. Splash! Just as he thought, another giant lobster jumped up on the water just beside the clawless one. This was even 3 times bigger than the previous one. Seeing this, Amon's eyes arched up as he smiled. Another Mr. Crab? And this one is at least 3 times bigger than the other. More food. Without allowing it to attack first, this time using Soru and his custom shooter, Amon rushed towards their direction even faster than before. But he didn't attack any of them. Instead, he swiftly returned back after retrieving the previous giant lobster's claw from the boat. Now, 300 meters in front of him, on the right side there was the bigger lobster and the left side was taken by the small one. Amon decided his target at the right, dashed forward.
Asterisk boom.
Boom! Asterisk, his shooter's speed boosted. Using Soru along with his shooter dial, he quickly decreased the distance between them. Though the speed was slower due to him carrying the heavy claw. But it was still faster than the lobsters could ever react to. When he's only 100 meters away using an imperfect version of Jeppo, he leaped a few steps in the air. Puff! Though his shooter dial could have done the same, using Jeppo frequently will help him perfect the technique itself. After mastering Jeppo, only 4 other techniques would be left for perfection among the 6 powers. As he was floating, he strongly gripped the slim end of the claw as his fingers pierced the hard outer shell, going inside it and locking them in the process. After that, he swung the claw behind his back for better momentum. Then, as he was only a few meters away from the target, he mustered all his strength into the claw, smashing it towards lobster number 2's head. Seche. The claw cut through the wind, as the velocity of the hit created great wind pressure, adding in the power. Hum. Finally, as the claw hit the large lobster's head, it created a large shockwave. That one hit cracked its shell in 2. But he didn't stop there, and asterisk bam, bam. He kept hitting the lobster for an overkill. This lobster was the reason he lost the other claw, his food. Before dying, the lobster made the same kind of noise as the clawless one. As Amon realized, oh wait, the clawless one is still alive. Let's finish this quickly.
I'm hungry.
Amon looked for the clawless lobster and thought. He smirked with coldness sweeping from his gaze, and when he was about to rush at it. Oh, But he again sensed danger, however, unlike last time, this one was bigger. Actually the biggest in his small 8-year-old life. It was as if someone was hitting his head with a hammer nonstop. His young body was not completely used to this type of sudden headache. But he didn't have time to worry about it now because some pretty big bugs have appeared. Splash, splash, splash. One after another, lobsters started to pop out of the water. It was then when Amon also understood something. So that strange noise the lobsters were making before death. They were calling for backup. Ha, ah, ah. Amon laughed nervously, seeing the 10 giant lobsters in front of him. Well, Amon slowly started to take out dials from his bags. Isn't this a gold mine? Taking out 17 dials from the bag, he skillfully threw them at the sea surface near the lobster spot, in a circular motion. Crack the next second, sounds of water being frozen sounded out. Confused, the lobsters tried to move and attack Amon. However, half of their bodies submerged in water were frozen. Because the water was now frozen, Amon chuckled. My first custom-made dial. Freezing dial. Sea of ice. With no way for the lobsters to move, Amon did not need to feel nervous anymore. This is the reason I love my bag-filled dials so much.